They say you can tell tourists in New York because they're the ones always looking up at the tall buildings. But in tonight's feature story, we're showing you some things that you'll miss by doing that. This is really something. Crystal Young begins our look at tiny New York.
Turns out that old saying really is true. Good things come in small packages, and native New Yorker Susie Siegel is out to prove it. As the author of the new book, Tiny New York, she knows some of the most amazing things in this city aren't big at all. Susie grew up in a tiny apartment in the Bronx. Now she lives in a tiny one in Queens.
I keep my shoes in the oven in Queens. Which would sound crazy to anyone who's not a New Yorker, but there's no room for my shoes. There's no closet space, right? And I realized this is what New Yorkers do. We're known for being this big giant city. We're the Big Apple, right? But at the same time, we're all working in these tiny little spaces.
Susie graciously agreed to show me some of her best finds. We're starting at Greenwich Locksmiths. At only 125 square feet, it's the tiniest locksmith and the tiniest freestanding building in New York City.
You make it work and you become very creative. You start using every little piece of space. I mean, there's not an inch of space in the shop that I don't know about.
Philip, who also makes metal sculptures, adorned the exterior with, what else? Keys. And when a major bank wanted to buy this landmark and turn it into an ATM, he said, no way.
I work here with my son. My wife works here like 3 days a week. It's you know, the family, it's nice. So if I sell it, what do? Do I retire? It's equals death. It's not good. You need to know when you have it okay.
In Chelsea, the tiniest barber shop is just 95 square feet. So small, owner Ave Jacobov has to use the restroom at a nearby diner. But Avi, who's also a matchmaker for his clients, doesn't sweat the small stuff.
You have to keep going because you have to make a living and you have to work.
Okay, so we'll just call it cozy.
Yes, cozy.
His customers wait outside the shop.
You can see them waiting out in the cold. They've got no socks on. It doesn't matter, winter, summer. It's just like the best, and you just feel, again, it's sort of he's worth the wait.
If it's tiny and it's in New York City, I found it. All the boroughs, and also it's not just tiny places. It's also tiny things.
Like this itsy bitsy book, The Sun by Harry Crosby. It's the tiniest book at the New York Public Library. Our last tiny location is the West 4th Street Courts, half the size of a regulation-sized court. It's also called The Cage.
There's not a lot of time to get the shot off, so everybody has to be super aggressive when they play, and that's what makes it great basketball, and that's why tourists come from all over the world to stand behind the cage and watch these players.
This court has produced champions.
Smush Parker, Stephon Marbury. I call it tiny court, big talent.
Crystal, thank you very much for that. Joining me right now is the author. This is Susie Siegel, and I got her book right here, who's the author of Tiny New York. I love the size of this book, too.
It's a tiny book.
It is a tiny book for the Big Apple. I like the idea very well. You have a lot of great things in this book. I was flipping through it, right? You can buy it on Amazon, by the way, for people to know that. There are a couple in there that I really want to point out right now.
All right.
One of your favorites. This is Sully. This is the NYPD's tiniest dog?
Yes.
Bomb-sniffing dog.
That is correct.
Tell me about that.
So normally when you see bomb-sniffing police dogs, they're German Shepherds. They're big, giant, intimidating dogs. Not Sully. Sully's 45 pounds.
Wow.
So he's the size of a
Fully
small
grown.
child. Yep. Fully grown, but he's got so much drive, this dog. This dog is here to protect us and keep us safe.
Isn't that great?
I mean, he's cute, but more than anything, he's tough.
Yeah.
And to me, that's Tiny New York.
He's in the canine.
He is. He's in the NYPD transit unit. So he's in the hole. He's below ground protecting our
What a
transit.
great little guy. So he's no longer in training. He's in action right now.
Yep. He made the cut. 90% of them don't make it.
Good, Sully. Go for it, all right?
Sully.
Now, you know, we're all thinking about apartments in New York, right?
All right.
But there's a studio loft. It's like 400 square feet. Show it. Take a look at this and tell us about it.
So, Mama, Papa, and Baby all live in a studio loft. No bedroom.
Unbelievable.
No bedroom.
They have to be very neat.
They are very neat.
Yeah.
They put everything away.
Yes.
And when they have a babysitter, the babysitter has to sit there in the dark because she can't turn on lights. But somehow the kid got used to sleeping. It's New York. The kid's a New Yorker.
They managed to do that, yeah.
Got used to people talking, the noise outside, light pollution. They managed to do it.
Unbelievable. This is in the financial district?
Yes.
Yeah.
The couple moved in together. They had to get rid of a lot of stuff. They wanted to cut costs like we need to do in New York.
Well, good for them.
Yes.
We applaud them.
Me too.
One of my favorites. I happen to like music.
Okay.
And this one is like a very tiny place. It's called the House of Oldies.
That is correct.
A guy from Brooklyn developed this thing, right? Tell us about his record collection.
So he just records, no tapes, no CDs, no nothing. He's got a big sign. He calls you an idiot if you come in there looking for anything that's not a record.
Yeah.
But it's so tiny in there. He's been around since 1968. It's so tiny that he really doesn't have room to put things in alphabetical order.
Unbelievable. But he's got a bargain bin, and I'm going to go down
He
there
does.
and
He
check
has
him
a
out.
great bargain bin, but if you look for the Moody Blues, they might be under W. He's got no
Maybe,
space left under M.
Hey, tell me about this tiny diamond now. It's called the Rising Sun.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what is more quintessential in New York? There's the Yankees, we have the tiniest Yankee,
Right.
and I went to the Diamond District, and I walked around, we all
Right.
know 48th Street,
Right.
and I found a gemologist who's been cutting diamonds in a tiny factory, trying to figure out how to just shave just the right angle off the
Unbelievable.
diamond.
And he's got a patent on this thing,
He's
too?
got a patent, it's called the Rising Sun, and it
Wow.
sparkles and has more light reflection than any other diamond.
And I know that's Seth Whiteman, right? He's
That
got,
is.
What does he have, like 18
He's
grandchildren?
got 18,
Oh,
he's an
that's
Orthodox
Seth.
Jew, and he's got 18 grandkids.
Man. He's got diamonds for all of them, right?
He sure does. When they get married, they'll be in good shape.
I'm sure of that. Susie Siegel, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for
Tiny
having
New
me.
York. Love this book.
I
Get it
love
on
this
Amazon,
book too.
right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
All right.
Ernie.
The weekend is almost here. Let's talk about what you want to do right now. Do you prefer to do things indoors or outdoors? What's your choice? What do you think? See what people said. Interesting answers, as always. We're coming right back after the break.